everybody in life is going through something. You know, we may not show it on the outside. We may not show it to our best friend. We may not show it to our spouse. But behind closed doors or inside our mind, we know what that is. And whatever that is for you, whether it's anxiety, depression, addiction, lust, you know, whatever it may be, everybody has something going on. And if you say you don't, then you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else around you. But the problem is, to fix that and to start to turn things around, we have to get real and honest about what it is that we're going through. And that applies to anything that is negatively impacting your life. To overcome that and move on to something better, first off, we have to get real, raw, relevant, and relational. And not very many people want to do that. And I've been just as guilty of it myself. You know, I'm very good at suppressing my emotions and putting on a front or a persona to people a lot of the times, that everything's great, you know, I got the world by the balls and everything's going to work out. And, you know, I've been lucky enough in life to where a lot of bad things that have happened, or a lot of circumstances that I've been in, have worked out. And at the end of the day, I've made it through. But I can't sit here and say that it didn't wear on me, you know, mentally, physically, you know, but I was never one that wanted to put that out there. And, you know, I was an addict for 9 years. I dealt with a opioid addiction for 9 years. I've got 7 years of sobriety as of last month. And, you know, for a long time, I didn't want anybody to know, you know, that I went, other than the people that already knew. I was ashamed to put that out there. Well, then over time, I began to find that the more people that I talked to about it, and the more people that I told about it, I was beginning to help others that I didn't know were even dealing with it. And it may not have been just addiction. I mean, when you're going through addiction, you deal with a lot of shit, anxiety, depression, and it affects everything in your life in a negative way. And I was always ashamed to talk about it, but in reality, the more I talked about it, and the more that I continue to talk about it and try to tell my story, and I have found that it affects so many people that you interact with on a daily basis, and you don't even know it. You know, you may suffer from anxiety or depression and go to work and put on a front that everything's okay, when the coworker beside you is dealing with it 10 times worse than you are, but you're both ashamed to talk about it. So therefore, you both continue to suffer, and you're not okay, and you continue to stay that way day in and day out. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. And, you know, I went from being an addict of 9 years to owning and running what I thought was a successful business for the last 5, going on 6 years, to now, you know, some circumstances led up to me having to close the business down, you know, about 6-7 months ago. And my business that I had wasn't my true passion to begin with, but I was making good money, and things were, you know, life was good. So I just kind of went with it. And then when some hardship starts to show up and life knocks you down, you know, I wasn't as motivated to keep fighting for it, just because it wasn't a burning desire inside me to keep doing that. You know, I'm almost 35 years old, and it wasn't something that I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And my true passion, ever since I went through the addiction thing, you know, I never really saw myself as being a coach or a motivational speaking type of person, or I didn't think anything I had to say was valuable. And I always said, well, what validates me to be able to give advice to somebody after going through all that shit? Well, what I always thought disqualified me for being that for somebody, being a coach, giving them the daily motivation or the tools to work through it. Whatever I thought disqualified me, in reality qualified me to be that person. Because it's just like anything. Are you gonna learn how to play golf from somebody that's never played golf in their life? Are you gonna learn how to throw a baseball from somebody that's played soccer their whole life? Well, no. Are you going to take advice from somebody how to overcome an addiction or depression, or somebody that's overweight, out of shape? Are you going to take advice from them on how to work on your fitness? Or no, you're not. Because just because they have a college education or a degree that gives them the certification to tell you what you should or should not do, doesn't mean that they're the right person for the job or to help you. And what I always thought disqualified me, in reality qualifies me more than somebody that's never been through it, but maybe have a degree in psychology or whatever it may be. And my passion is to help those who are going through an addiction, or help those who are going through depression or anxiety, because all three of those things went hand in hand through the 9-year addiction that I dealt with. And when I was going through the addiction, I'm sitting here in my gym at my house, and it's just a small gym in my garage. It may not be much to many people, but I'm out here 7 days a week. Me and my wife would normally try to work out together. But when I was going through an addiction, this was the farthest thing from my mind. I was out of shape, overweight. I'm by no means a physical specimen. I'm not where I want to be. I'm working towards that. I'm 360-degree difference in what I was 9 years ago. But my passion has been helping those who need the help, and putting my message out there. And I enjoy nothing more than to talk to somebody that I don't even know, but tell my story. And it really helps more people the more you can put your story out there. And I'm just an average guy. I'm nobody on social media, nobody on the internet knows who I am. But I got to the point to where I wasn't ashamed anymore, and I wasn't, telling myself, well, you're not qualified to help anybody. If my story can help one person, the drug epidemic in this world has basically overtaken any death statistic out there. And if my message and my story and overcoming that can help one person, then it was worth it. What others think about me, I don't really give a fuck. Where I'm at in my life right now, I'm at a point where I never thought that I would be at. Again, I'm not homeless living out on the street, but financially, I'm in a spot that I never thought that I would ever be at. Again, I went from being an addict to owning and running a business and making good money. And after closing up the business, I kind of got in the rut of life, and just kind of over the last 5-6 months, I've been waiting on, I keep telling myself, well, something's I don't know if I'm just expecting a miracle to come out of the sky and everything turn around. But financially, I'm at a point in my life right now where, if I'm being 100% honest, if it wasn't for my wife working, bringing home good money, I don't know where we would be at, and I keep just telling myself things are going to get better, which in reality, sitting around hoping and praying that things are going to change, nothing better is going to fucking happen. You know, and the other day I was talking to my wife, and as husband and wife do, we kind of had an argument, and I didn't have anything to say back because all the points that she was saying were valid points. And I was mad at myself more than anything because I put myself and I put our family in the position that we're in. And, you know, I as I was out here in the gym tonight working out, trying to relieve some of the aggravation that I've had building up over the last few months, it just finally, you know, even though it sounds so simple to most, it finally just clicked in my head that nothing's going to change unless I make the change happen. And what I mean by that is, yeah, we can sit around. If you're depressed, if you're going through anxiety, if you're broke, you can't sit around and nobody's going to come save you. There are people out there that are willing to help in whatever area you're struggling in, but you got to be willing to take that step and put in the work yourself. You're not going to be handed anything. And I've had a lot of people over my 34 years of life that have helped me out tremendously, and I greatly appreciate it. But there's certain things in life, until you make up the decision in your mind that I'm not going to live like this no more. I want better for myself. I want better for my family. And start to make those steps working towards it, nothing's going to change. And that's where I got discouraged. And I was fighting my head when I was putting out these videos months back. You know, I was talking positive and saying that, you know, and the messages that I had of overcoming addiction and everything was good, but inside I wasn't happy with where I'm at. You know, I'm not financially stable right now. It's on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, and I fucking hate it. You know, I don't like being in this position. Nobody likes being in a financial bind, but you know, I'm not 100% happy where I'm at physically, you know, but yet when I tell myself I'm not going to drink pop or I'm not going to eat sugar, I may do that for a day or two, and then I fucking fall right back into the same routine over and over again. And then as I'm doing it, I'm like, you weak motherfucker, you said you weren't going to do it. And then I get up and I look in the mirror, you know, I'm not 400 pounds, but yet I still got that extra skin on the side, and every time I look in the mirror, it fucking drives me nuts. But I'm doing that to myself. Nobody's forcing me to fucking do that. Nobody's forcing me to sit around and you know, woe is me. And the same thing goes for you. You know, you may be in a tight position and you may not be happy with where you're at, but nothing's going to fall out of the sky into your lap. Nothing's going to fall out of the sky into my lap. Nothing's going to, you know, you're never going to find that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow unless you get out there and put the work and take the steps necessary to do so. So my message is pretty simple. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. And that message is just as much for me as it is for whoever's watching this video. You know, I was sitting here working out and I was like, man, I'm fucking struggling right now. You know, I put on this smile and I go out and talk to friends and family, and everything seems great on the outside, but on the inside, man, I'm going through it. You know, I'm fucking pissed off because I can't, you know, here we are coming up to the holidays, and you know, we shouldn't be in a position that we're in. And I get I'm not the only one in that position. I'm just trying to be 100% real and raw with whoever's watching this, that, you know, even though it seems okay on the outside, you may go to work and your coworker seems like everything's great. They're having a great day. The marriage is good. as soon as they walk out that door and get in their car to go home, they fucking hate their life. Or they're unhappily married, or they hate their fucking job, whatever it may be. But it's going to take more people that are willing to be honest, be 100% real, raw, relevant, and relational to fix that fucking problem. And that's what's wrong with the world today, is everybody wants to put on a front, whether that's our government, whether that's the news media, social media. You know, everybody gets on social media and wants to put out the videos that seem like life's great. And that's all fine and dandy, but if more people were willing to step up and put the videos out to say, hey man, I'm fucking struggling. You know, I'm not 100% happy with where I'm at. I may not be 50% happy with where I'm at, but I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to admit that I got an addiction. I'm willing to admit that I'm going through depression. I'm willing to admit that I got to drink 20 beers a day just to be able to function. If you're willing to step up and admit that, then we can start working towards fixing whatever that problem is. You know, if you can decide where you want to go in life, then you can just see where you're at, and then you fill in that gap in between. So if you want to go here and you're here, what do you got to do in between to get there? And I'm sitting here asking myself the same motherfucking question. But what I do know is I want to help people along the way. I want to help people. There may be some other dude sitting in his gym in his garage tonight that has it worse than me. And that's the motherfucker that I want to help. Or I want to help the guy that goes to his job every day and thinks, man, I'd like to own my own business. I'd like to do whatever. Well, then do whatever you got to do to make that happen, because the timeline of life is very short. They print money every day. They're not making any more time. So if you don't take that step today, you keep pushing that back, it's never going to happen. You know, if you really think about it, tomorrow never comes. You never reach tomorrow. And that's not for me. I heard that from somebody else, and I got to thinking about that, and it's true. Tomorrow never comes. You know, you say tomorrow, well then the next day comes and it's tomorrow, and it can fuck with your mind when you think about it, but it's true. Tomorrow never comes, and if you keep saying tomorrow, 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 it never comes. And if you're going through any of those, addiction, depression, if you're unhappy, overweight, if you got a sugar addiction, whatever it is, if you say, well, I'll quit tomorrow, it's never going to fucking happen. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. I'd just like to encourage anybody that's watching this, anybody that may hear this message, it takes more people to step up and be 100% honest, 100% real. You know, I'm 34 years old, husband, father. I went from being an addict for 9 years to owning and running my own business for almost 6 years, to now here I am. I closed my business up, really didn't know what I wanted to do in life, and the more and more that I think about it, and the more and more that I talk to people, and what I really want to do is what I'm doing right now, put my message out there. And it may not make any sense to anybody watching this. I don't really give a fuck. But what I do care about is if I can touch that one person, and if he's like, man, I've been secretly going through an addiction for the last 5 years. I don't know what I need to do to overcome it. Send me a message, reach out. I'm not saying what I did will work for everybody. I'm not saying what I did is the correct answer. But what I can say is I took the steps necessary when I was at rock bottom to overcome a 9-year addiction, to building my life back up, owning and running a successful business. And now I'm back down. I wouldn't say I'm at rock bottom, because I'm not an addict. I'm not an alcoholic. Am I going through some depression and anxiety? If I'm being 100% honest, probably so. But I know that I can't stay in this position. Things aren't going to just get better by themselves. I got to take the steps. So I am declaring today, December 6th, 2023, day one of working towards the man that I've always wanted to be, the man that I always wanted in my life. And I'm going to give him to my wife, my kids, and anybody else that'll listen. And if I can help somebody along the way, then that's even better. I encourage you guys, it's all right not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Get real, get honest. Tell somebody how you're feeling today. If you're having a bad day tomorrow, walk into work and say, dude, I'm having a rough day. I'm not happy with where I'm at in life. I don't know if you can help me, but I just had to get that off my chest. And it may seem weird, but I guarantee you after you say it, you'll feel better. I feel better after putting this message out there. You know, I'm out here working out, trying to relieve some aggravation, and the more and more I just kept thinking about where I'm at, the more aggravated I got. But as I'm here being real, raw, and relevant, I feel better about it. My situation hasn't changed, but I feel better because I was able to put how I truly felt out there. So if this message helps you, I'd love to hear from you. If something resonates with you or you think somebody could hear it, share the video. And we can't do everything by ourselves. We got to start taking the steps necessary that we need to do, but we're all better together. So if you're going through something, you may be going through something that I don't resonate with, but your next door neighbor does. Be willing to be vulnerable. Talk to people. Put your story out there, and people will respect you a lot more rather than showing up every day, putting on a front, putting on a fake smile, and acting like life's perfect. Hope this message helps somebody. I'll talk to you guys soon.